coming up.
There might have been caveats that the information might have been shared. It might not have been shared. It might have been in a document. You're not sure which document, and you're not precisely sure of the timeline. Do you see how this completely blows up the government's claim that the House of Commons IT was properly informed?
You'd said that, quote, on the inquiry, quote, nothing has been withheld, and then later said in an exchange that the Commission, they have everything they've asked for. That's not true. If that were the case, why did the legal counsel for Madame Justice Hogue to our committee only within the last couple of weeks say, quote, discussions between the Commission and the government on the issue of disclosure of cabinet confidences are ongoing? And for
Point of order,
sorry,
Mr. Chair.
Chair, I will move a motion that I had put on notice.
I move that we adjourn the debate.
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Xavier, we had 3 rounds of questioning previously. I'm going to follow up on some of those questions because I reread our exchanges and there were some things I noticed that I wanted to probe a little bit more. First off, in my 3rd round, I had asked about caveats in terms of information that was shared with the House of Commons. I think you had said you had to get back to us. I assume you have that information now. Were there any caveats in the information shared with the House of Commons in terms of limitations on who they could then share that information with, et cetera?
So, Mr. Chair, thank you for the question. So when we share information with anybody, especially when it's pieces of intelligence...
Just a very specific question. Were there caveats in this case?
It is very possible that there would be caveats. In terms of the briefings, because we held many briefings with the House of Commons, it is very possible that some of the documentation with...
Ma'am, I asked you this question previously. I wasn't asking if it was possible. I asked if there were caveats.
So because, Mr. Chair, I wasn't in the meetings myself, I don't know exactly which documents were shared with the House of Commons. But I would expect that some of the documents that we did share with the House of Commons would have had caveats, especially based on classification.
Okay.
Having said
would those
that,
have limited their ability to share information with others?
So, Mr. Chair, it is possible that had there been caveats on the documentations provided, that those caveats would only be able to be shared with people with similar classification.
Okay, thank you. So you're saying it's possible, but you're not willing or ready to confirm?
Mr. Genesis,
Rappel au règlement.
So, point of order, please. Over to you, Madame Gaudreau. Now, I just have access to French interpretation, and when the interpreter says inaudible, then clearly I think that my colleague is perhaps talking too fast. Yes, I quite understand, is the response from the chair.
Mr. Janice, just in terms of allowing the witness the opportunity to respond, I will be generous with the time. We've gained a little bit of time throughout the course of the meeting. So if the concern is about rushing, don't worry. The quality of the question and answer is more important. Madam Xavier, if you can do your best to speak more slowly. Mr. Janice, if you can do your best to speak more slowly and also to try to ensure that we're not speaking over one another.
Alors, rappel au règlement, Monsieur le Président, quelle était la question?
Point of order, what was the question? That's the information that's missing for me. The quality of the question, which question? The question from Mr. Ginas. That's what I didn't receive. Okay.
That Madame Gaudreau did not hear it. So I've stopped the clock. If you could repeat your previous question. Madame Gaudreau, s'il y a des enjeux qui continuent.
If there's any other issue, please let me know, Madame Gaudreau.
Okay. If you could just repeat the question, though, because I think there seemed to have been a translation.
Sure, okay. Let me know when you're starting the time. But to summarize the round, if there were translation problems so far, I have asked if there were caveats that limited the House of Commons from sharing information with parliamentarians. And the response we're getting is it's possible that there could have been without confirmation that there was.
Okay, so I'm now going to start the clock.
Okay, thank you. And we can make this easier for ourselves and for interpreters just with clear questions, clear answers. Are you prepared to tell us whether or not there were caveats? Not whether it was possible that there were caveats, but whether there were. And if you're not, is it because you don't know or because you don't wish to share that information?
Mr. Chair, I can assure you it's not because I don't wish to share the information, but it is because I wasn't personally present at the time of when we were having some of these exchanges with this House of Commons IT security
team. That's good enough. Will you, I did ask this question previously, and I was told you could get back to us, and you're back, and you still aren't able to answer. Would you undertake to provide a response to this committee in writing specifically regarding caveats within 2 weeks?
So, Mr. Chair, we'd be happy to be able to answer the question in writing, and we are waiting for the official taskings out of the last time I was president of PROC to be able to answer all of the other questions that were also asked of us.
Within 2 weeks?
I suspect we should be able to do that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I had asked you a series of questions in my first round about what you communicated with the House of Commons, and you had, and I noticed something afterwards when I was reviewing this. I had asked if you informed House administration about the source of the attack, and you said that you had informed them about, quote, what we believed at the time to be the originating source of the attack. And then I asked you in follow-up, so you shared with the House of Commons administration the source of the attack, that being APT 31. And then your response changed. You suggested we go in camera, and then you variously dodged the follow-ups. And at no point did you confirm that APT 31 was identified to House of Commons administration as the threat. So I want to press that point because I noticed that you didn't answer about APT 31 specifically. Did you, at any point, inform House of Commons administration that APT 31 specifically was the source of the attack?
So, Mr. Chair, when we started the conversation with the House of Commons, it was in 2021. And at that time, it is very possible that we were not calling this actor APT 31. So what we were sharing with the House of Commons was what we were at that time understanding to be the originating actions and the threat actor, which we now have come to know as APT 31. What I cannot confirm and guarantee, Mr. Chair, is that at that time we were calling it APT 31.
So at what point in time did you mention APT 31 specifically to House of Commons administration? Not in 2021, it sounds like, but at some point in the future, or never?
What I'm understanding is that we did eventually come to confirm to the House of Commons that this actor was APT 31. What I'm saying is that originally, when we started to understand the actor, we may not have called it APT 31.
But just when did you identify the actor to the House?
My understanding is that based on the exchanges that we've had with the House of Commons and the presentations that we made collectively with CSIS, it might have been around February of 2021 that we then may have alluded to that being the possible actor by that name.
So you did, or you think you might have named APT 31 in February of 2021?
So in the presentations that were done by ourselves and CSIS,
I'm almost out of time. Just yes or no.
There were a series of documents that were shared with the IT team, and one of those documents outlines that the actor could be APT 31. It
could have been. Okay. So this is the problem we have with the government's narrative is they said House of Commons IT was told and they were supposed to tell MPs. But you said there may have been caveats, and you can't confirm whether there were or not, but there may have been caveats, and you can't confirm whether the House of Commons was even told that APT 31 was the source of the threat. So how in the world could House of Commons IT have informed members of Parliament if there were caveats, and if they weren't informed who the source of the actor was? And we've had you here twice. We've asked you specific questions about that information being passed along, and you haven't been able to answer. You've told us there might have been caveats, that the information might have been shared, it might not have been shared, it might have been in a document. You're not sure which document, and you're not precisely sure of the timeline. Do you see how this completely blows up the government's claim that the House of Commons IT was properly informed?
Mr. Jennings, if there is a question, I will afford Ms. Xavier a moment, but
I think the point is clear, but I'd welcome a response if there is one.
Ms. Xavier, very quickly, if you'd like to respond.
So, Mr. Chair, what I've made clear and what I'm trying to emphasize is that when you're dealing with cyber incidents, at the beginning, you may not know all the details. And so eventually, as you continue to have the back and forth conversation with the service provider, you come more clarity comes to be, especially when there's exchanges of the logs. And at the time, we may not have originally known it was APT 31, but in the exchange of information that we had with the House of Commons, there was sufficient information provided for them to know what the issue was that was at risk, what actions they needed to take to mitigate.
The FBI told you, though. It was the FBI said who it was. You had this information because the FBI gave it to you, and you didn't pass it along.
Colleagues, I would very much appreciate if the chair's role in facilitating a meeting was respected. I have done my best throughout the course of the last hour and the beginning of this hour to be very generous in affording members the opportunity to ask questions and witnesses the opportunity to respond to those questions. I'm going to be less generous if I feel as though that's being taken advantage of. I appreciate your cooperation in that matter.
I'm kind of flabbergasted here. I've come across a document that was published on the 15th of December. I even provided it to all of my colleagues because I said to them, look, it's the National Security Agency for IT Systems, and publicly, there it is.
Madame Drouin, I want to follow up on some of the statements you've made today that have frankly not been true at all. You'd said that, quote, on the inquiry, quote, nothing has been withheld, and then later said in an exchange that the Commission, they have everything they've asked for. That's not true. If that were the case, why did the legal counsel for Madame Justice Hogue to our committee only within the last couple of weeks say, quote, discussions between the Commission and the government on the issue of disclosure of cabinet confidences are ongoing? And for
Point of order,
Sorry,
Mr. Chair.
where is that coming from?
Sorry,
Oh,
it's
Sherry,
me.
sorry. I'm hearing. I thought I was hearing voices. Ms. Romanato.
My apologies. I'm just kind of confused. I don't know if Mr. Duncan knows that we're not on the same study. We're on the study about the cyber attacks.
It is a fair reminder. And Mr. Duncan, let's finish the line of questioning. But it is a fair reminder that we are here more specifically on the cyber attacks. But finish the line of questioning. Let's see where it goes. Madame Drouin, you'll have a moment to answer that question.
Where I'm going with this is the pattern of cover-ups that have been happening time and time again on this issue. So my question is, I've mentioned about the letter from the legal counsel. If, quote, everything they've been asked for, they've got, why are they still going through a legal process with you to get the documents that they deem relevant and what they want to have?
Monsieur le Président, je peux répondre à cette question. Je vais essayer.
Mr. Chair, I can answer that question. I'll try and be brief.
I'd like us to be clear. We are putting everything in the same basket, talking about information. So there's different type of information. What I have said is that all intelligence information, relevant and classified information, heavily classified information, relevant to the mandate of the Commission, everything has been shared with the Commission, without exercising any kind of privileges. And then the other part of your question are more related to potentially memorandum to cabinet. And this is why I also shared with you that the most to-the-point documents, the 4 most relevant documents were shared with the Commission, and the ongoing conversation is about potentially other memorandum to cabinet that accessory may have talked about.
And here's the problem, Madame Drouin, because it's the most relevant deemed by you, deemed by the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister's office, and the Privy Council office, making that determination of what is relevant. The terms of reference that were set says, quote, it authorizes the Commissioner to receive and review any relevant classified or unclassified documents. And here's the thing for Canadians watching this and what is happening. This is like a courtroom trial where the accused that's on the stand gets to choose what evidence the judge gets to see. The reason this inquiry is going on and the reason there's been so much scrutiny is the action, or frankly, the lack of action on combating foreign interference from the Prime Minister, the PMO, and the PCO. So will you explain to Canadians why the very groups I just mentioned, including yourself, under scrutiny, get to select what evidence the justice gets to see? Why don't you provide everything, not that you deem relevant, but that she deems relevant?
I like the comparison with the litigation. As you know, I've been managed a lot of litigations and a lot of e-discoveries in my life, and this is how it works. We do proceed in terms of collecting, based on the questions we are receiving, all the materials, and then we disclose to the court. Like this assessment, and this is based on good faith, and there are consequences if we are not acting in good faith and trying to hide things. But this is at core of the process.
And I will just argue there's consequences when Canadians look at this and see that documents are not being provided as requested by the justice leading this. And so we talk about consequences. It's the integrity of this commission and having the Madame Justice Hogue feeling like she has everything she needs to be able to do a proper investigation. Clearly, when lawyers and legal counsel are meeting back and forth, they're clearly not happy. I'm going to pass the remainder of my time over to Mr. Cooper.
I just
Okay, just one moment, Mr. Cooper. I will stop the clock. Madame Drouin, I will offer you a brief opportunity to respond.
I just want to say that we will all benefit from the work of the Commission and its recommendation. It's not on the advantage of any of us to withhold information in order for her to be relevant in her conclusions.
Listen to her.
And then, of course, we do have a responsibility as civil servant to strike the right balance in protecting, which is really important for you in terms of the cabinet confidence and making sure that she can do her job. But we all want her to succeed because we want Canada to succeed.
Thank you very much, Madame Drouin. Mr. Cooper, I'm going to restart the clock. There are 45 seconds remaining.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I will move a motion that I had put on notice, and I'll read it, that given the large workload the committee is managing, the committee instructs the chair to schedule 5 meetings between July 8th, 2024 and September 13th, 2024 to address the report of the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians titled Special Report on Foreign Interference in Canada's Democratic Processes and Institutions, tabled in Parliament on June 3rd, 2024, and to continue the committee's ongoing work on foreign election interference. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will make very brief remarks. This committee has a lot of work that is outstanding. That includes Bill C-65, which has passed second reading and that is going to be referred to our committee. It's legislation, government legislation that takes priority. We have Scott Reed's motion, as well as Alex Ruff's private members bill. We continue our work on this study with respect to the question of privilege arising from the cyber attack directed against 18 parliamentarians, and we are continuing work with respect to the broader issue of foreign interference, and there are a number of issues that have arisen coming out of the NSICOP report, the NSIRA report, as well as the Hogue report. So having regard for all of that, I think it is necessary that this committee meet over the summer. 5 meetings. I think that's a very reasonable compromise to try to get some of the work around foreign interference done so that we can move on in the fall to deal with government legislation, as well as the private members' motion and private members' bill that we must review.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Cooper. The speaking order to begin debate on Mr. Cooper's motion is as follows. Mr. Garrettson, followed by Ms. Matheson, followed by Mr. Jennis. Mr. Garrettson, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn the debate.
Okay, colleagues.
Point of order, Chair. Point of order. Is this member trying to shut down debate when others haven't even been able to reply because he doesn't want to have to work this summer? Is that what's happening, Chair?
Mr. Jennis. Mr. Jennis. I think I have your name right. We have a motion that has been put forward. Mr. Garrettson just say boo-hoo, get over it again? And we have, guys, do I have to suspend? Or can I just get to the order of business here? I'm not tending to the point of order because we have had a motion to adjourn. You know very well that that is what we call a dilatory motion. We're going to go to a vote. Mr. Clerk, I'm going to ask you to call the vote to adjourn debate on the motion that was moved, what seems like ages ago now, by Mr. Cooper. Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Romanato.
Oui.
Madame Fortier,
Oui.
Mr. Duguid,
Yes.
Monsieur Lauzon,
Oui.
Mr. Gerritsen, Mr. Cooper,
No.
Mr. Jennings,
No.
Mr. Duncan,
Nope.
Mr. Berthold,
No.
Madame Gill,
Oui.
Miss Matheson. 7 yeas, 4 nays.
There we go. Okay, colleagues, you've heard the results. We have adjourned debate on the motion.